Telecommunications. Thank you all for joining today for what seems to be a cracker of a session with an august panel of industry leaders who would be keeping us busy over the next 60 minutes on the topic of sustainable telecommunications, green technologies, and practices. Hi, I am Meena Singh, your host for this series, and I'm part of the events development team here at the IET. Before we begin our session, please allow me to take a couple of minutes from your time and tell you a little bit about IIT and the session today. The Institution of Engineering and Technology, also known as the IIT, is a 150-year-old global organization inspiring, informing, and influencing the engineering community to engineer a better world. As a diverse home across engineering and technology, we share knowledge that helps make better sense of the world to solve the challenges that matter. At the IIT, we want to grow actionable knowledge to solve India centric engineering issues and enhance people's lives using technology through leadership to drive innovation. Here's a short video about who we are and what it is to be part of the IIT family.
Our world is changing.
Engineering is changing.
Society is changing.
We are changing.
We're here to inspire,
Inform.
Influence.
And change perceptions.
Demonstrating how important engineers and technicians are in our lives.
Championing achievements.
Helping to create new technologies that enable us to thrive.
And inspiring future generations to make a difference.
Together, we discover new concepts by turning theory into practice.
Create solutions to society's biggest challenges.
Share knowledge and expertise through our networks.
Grow by developing new skills and capabilities.
Evolve and adapt for the future.
We are the IET.
Together, we are engineering a better world.
Thank you. You can get in touch with us to understand how you could be part of the IIT and explore our membership and volunteering opportunities. If you would like to catch a glimpse of the past events, please do visit our website or our YouTube page that would also give you all our past on-demand events as well. Coming to the esteemed panel of speakers we have today. First, we have Ms. Seema Chatterjee. She is the co-founder and partner at QD X-Ray PV and Data Infra Consultant. Welcome, ma'am.
Hello.
Our second speaker today is Mr. Arun Khanna, who is working with AT&T as the Managing Director for India. Welcome, sir.
Thank you.
And to complete the panel, we have Mr. Amit Satpathy, Executive Vice President, Vodafone India. Welcome, sir.
Hello, pleasure to be here.
Coming to the curator and the moderator of today's session, we have a new chair for the Intelligent Connectivity Working Group at the IIT. He is a digital technology consultant and has worked with AT&T as the regional director for IoT. Welcome, Sunil, sir. And over to you, sir. And congratulations on being the chair.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Meena. And thank you so much for that introduction. And good afternoon to all the speakers, Arun, Amit, and Seema. Thank you so much for taking time to be part of this session. At the outset, I would like to thank IET for giving me the opportunity to moderate this virtual panel and getting their leaders to share their insights on a very, very important and pertinent topic about sustainable telecommunications, green technologies, and practices. Now, before we get into the discussion and hear the leaders, I just wanted to take a few minutes to kind of set the context for the discussion. A few months back at the World Economic Forum in Davos, they released a Global Risks Report 2024. And the number one risk that they mentioned, no surprises, it was extreme weather. So what we're clearly seeing is that the oceans are getting warmer, glaciers are melting, our planet continues to burn. And we've seen so many extreme weather events over the last 1 year. And 2024 is no exception. I think this is one of the harshest summers that we are experiencing in India. As per the European Union's Copernicus Climate Change Service, 2023 was the hottest year on record and likely the warmest in 100,000 years. Regions such as Europe, North America, China experienced record breaking heat waves. In India, also, we saw extreme weather events last year, extreme heat in certain places, high rainfall in certain areas, and the earth was 1.5 degrees warmer than it was during the pre-industrial days, and it looks extremely unlikely given the current situation whether we'll meet the UN's target of limiting global warming to 1.5 degrees above industrial levels by 2030. So, and if this continues, then it will definitely impact livelihoods of people, their health, and overall well-being. Now, switching from fossil fuels to renewables, many industries are on that journey, whether it's solar or wind, as alternate forms of energy. Many industries, especially the energy-intensive ones like chemical, automotive, pharma, real estate, are energy intensive, and this whole transition to newer source of energy will obviously take some time. Second is, I just also wanted to highlight what I picked up from a Niti Aayog report, which was released a couple of years back. And this is actually very scary. By 2030, they say that India's water demand will exceed supply by 2 times. And that indicates severe water scarcity in the country. Today, a large use of groundwater is in India. Agriculture is one industry which uses a lot of water. And I just wanted to highlight, when you talk about water, it takes 7,600 liters of water to make a pair of jeans and 1,000 liters of water to make a chocolate bar. So before you bite on the chocolate bar, just think about the amount of water that is being used to make a chocolate bar. And having talked about water, also let me very quickly touch upon waste, industrial waste, solid waste, hazardous e-waste, biological waste. As per a State of India's Environment 2023 report, municipal solid waste generation is around 150,000 tons per day. That's huge. And let's not forget the plastic waste. And when you have waste which is in landfills, that creates another problem because it generates a lot of methane and other greenhouse gases. I just wanted to highlight a couple of examples of a couple of industries which is contributing a lot as far as carbon emissions concerned. There was the KPMG report which was released last year, and they were tracking the real estate sector. And as per this report, the real estate sector contributes almost 40% of global carbon emissions, and they rely extremely on fossil fuel for both construction of newer buildings and maintenance of all the older ones. And over the next few years, we're going to see the real estate industry grow, and it'll really be interesting how they address the aspect of sustainability. Now, having spent almost 25 years in the telecom industry, I cannot but quote examples from the telecom industry. I just wanted to highlight how much the telecom industry consumes. As per a report from GSMA, communication service providers account for about 2 to 3% of global energy demand. As per the same report, energy consumption constitutes almost 20 to 40% of network OPEX, and roughly 2/3 of network power consumption happens in the RAN, the radio access network. So many operators, cellular providers are now focused on trying to make the RAN a lot more efficient. One big challenge that service providers face, and this is true of every other industry, including manufacturing, is how do you handle scope 3 emissions, which is beyond your supply chain, right? Because that is by far the largest source of greenhouse gas emissions for most communication service providers. I just wanted to highlight what a couple of operators are doing. For example, in India, Airtel became the first Indian telecommunications company to join the United Nations Global Impact, which is one of the largest corporate sustainability initiatives in the world. I've been reading also about how BT, how they are managing their fleet emissions. They have a fleet of about 30,000 vehicles, and they have a plan to transition them to low carbon alternatives, right? So this whole ESG initiative, the E part of the ESG, the environmental aspect, India is committed to getting to carbon neutral by 2070. And if India has to meet its target of getting to carbon neutral by 2070, then the onus is on the industry to do their part. And of course, the telecom operators will definitely have to do their part as well to make sure that their operations are a lot more sustainable. they're able to fuse a lot more sustainability into their products and services which they take to their customers. So, with this context in mind, I want to get into the discussion, and I would want to first get each of the three esteemed speakers to give their overall generic view about this whole aspect about sustainability and climate change. So, let me start with you, Arun. Your views on this whole topic.
Right. Thank you, Sunil, and thank you for setting this up so beautifully. This is such an important topic for all of us, indeed. And as far as I'm concerned, personally, sustainability is all about a harmonious relationship between humanity and nature, one that ensures the well being of both present and future generations. Uh, there is so much at stake, and we owe so much to our future generations. And what shape do we leave the world in? Now, it's all about recognizing the interconnectedness with the ecosystems that sustain us. We have to embrace our responsibility to safeguard them for posterity. We need to understand that our actions have ripple effects, that extend far beyond our immediate surroundings. They impact whole communities, economies, and ecosystems around the globe. So, talking about climate change, and you made a very good point. Why is there such a sense of urgency about climate change and sustainability? So let me put this in an interesting context. So ever since we as humankind started measuring our greenhouse gas emissions, basically starting the year 1870. So going from 1870 all the way to the year 2019, we have recorded about 2,350 gigatons of emissions. And that leaves a very small carbon budget of only 580 gigatons going all the way from the year 2020 to the year 2100 if we have to keep the global warming below 1.5 degrees centigrade come 2100. And this is a very, very small budget, as you said, that it is looking extremely improbable that we would be able to achieve that target. And already there is the talk is pivoting to, okay, if not 1.5 degrees, let's keep it below 2 degrees. So already that realization is dawning that probably the 1.5 degrees target is unachievable. So when you look at it in this context, the whole global energy transformation, the race for carbon neutrality to get to net zero is extremely critical in terms of shaping our future. Now, science tells us that to avoid the worst impacts of climate change, the world must halve its global emissions by 2030 and basically reach net zero emissions by 2050, as you've also alluded to that fact, Sunil. And this means eliminating billions of metric tons of greenhouse gas emissions through improved efficiency and increased use of renewable and green forms of energy. And here, businesses are under pressure to reduce emissions. Investors, customers, regulators, and other stakeholders, they're all looking to businesses to employ responsible innovations to solve for climate change and meet global regulation standards. Here, I would say that this is where technology-led innovations come into the fore. They can really help businesses accomplish these goals. And you know what? There is more than one upside to focusing on emissions reductions. So, what I'm trying to say is when businesses implement technology solutions based on technologies like IoT, AI, 5G, edge computing to reduce greenhouse gas emissions, they not only create efficiencies and unlock savings that can possibly advance their organizations, but I think a real successful approach actually is a twofold approach which addresses both internal and external factors. So, number one, obviously, you employ innovative technologies that reduces cost, reduces operational waste, increases efficiencies across the enterprise, reduces emissions, but also one has to look at creating new products that drive revenue opportunities and help your customers reduce their emissions. And there is increasing demand for products and services that help customers operate in environmentally responsible ways. So, that said, this is also giving rise to the whole concept of ESG investing that is really coming to the fore these days. So, basically environmental, social, and governance investing has gained significant traction over the past decade, I would say. And this is driven by a growing recognition of the need for sustainable and responsible financial decision making. So, this investment approach basically considers the impact on society and the environment alongside financial returns. And this is signaling a major shift in how societies, corporations, and more so investors define value. So, ESG criteria are now getting integrated into investment strategies to yield sustainable financial returns. And it is growing at a rapid pace, according to a Bloomberg intelligence report. As of 2022, there were US dollar 30 trillion worth of assets that were being managed using some form of sustainable investment strategies. That represents more than a quarter of all professionally managed assets globally. And that number is slated to go up to US dollar 40 trillion assets under management by 2030. So you can already see the steep ramp up that is taking place in this area. And this is aided by advancements in technology, particularly in big data and artificial intelligence. They are improving the analysis of large volumes of ESG data, which can be very complex. And this not only enhances the ability to monitor ESG criteria, but also helps in identifying long term opportunities for sustainable investments. So I would say that the principles of ESG are being increasingly integrated into broader areas of business and global finance, influencing not only direct investment choices, but also overall corporate strategies and governance models worldwide. So Sunil, those were my opening thoughts for the session today. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Arun. And I just wanted to touch upon one point. You talked about technology innovation. I think the role that technology is playing today, when it comes to handling environment, in terms of how you optimize energy, waste, water. So I think the role of tech will play a huge part, and we'll hear from you, Arun, and later on from the others in terms of how within your own organizations, what are you doing to use these kind of technologies to make your operation sustainable. And as you also said, you're trying to embed sustainability into your products and services because you want your customers also to be sustainable in their business. So it will be interesting to hear more on the tech side of things, Arun. So I'll come back to you later on. Let me get Sima into the discussion. So Sima, your initial thoughts on this whole topic on sustainability, green practices overall. You're on mute, Sima. You're on mute.
You hear me now?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, please go.
Great insights, Arun, and thank you, Sunil, for having me here. Um, I don't see anything else to be added after Arun, so let's begin with a story. Many of us started believing the theory that Earth pole shift causing the immediate climate change and disaster, even like flood, drought, or even extreme heat. Like as Sunil mentioned, this year in Brazil, the record-breaking summer was, and it reached around 63 degrees Celsius. Can you believe it? So it is a misconception. I just wanted to add here. Let us start trusting the science and the data. So, and if we trust data and science, then let's take the responsibility of our irresponsible attitude towards the nature, what we have done to the nature. So, this is how I wanted to see overall as a sustainability. IPCC, they came up with ample evidence of data. According to them, around 8 inches of sea water has risen or hiked up since 1900. And food scarcity or water supply has declined by 21% since 1960. And we all know the presence of harmful substances in the air, land, and water. So we don't need to talk about it. Thank God, various governance bodies, they came forward, took the responsibility and formed some governance bodies in late 90s and early 20s. Otherwise, we could have experienced much worse than what we are seeing today. Not only on the economic damage, also towards the disproportionate impact on general populations, biodiversity, as well as ecosystems. Still, we are seeing a substantial impact. So we understood our responsibility. Lawmakers, governance bodies, business, and individuals, we all came together and started working towards it. We adopted various strategies as well, mainly driven by AI. So before we talk about the strategies, AI, we keep talking about it. It became a buzzword these days, and it is a two-edged strategy or sword basically. So if you see AI, when we train the data, the massive amount of data which in the hyperscaler, which can even emit around 284 metric ton of carbon dioxide, which is around in lifetime of 5 American cars CO2 emission basically. But if we take the responsibility and a responsible way approach towards it, we can downsize the emission. Many methods like right sizing, modeling, clean data center, using right algorithm, these all can help. And that's exactly what Salesforce or Google or Amazon and DeepMind, they all are way towards it. And some of the interesting factors when it comes to strategies, we can always talk about how the sustainable or renewable energy took care of, like through solar or wind or even earthworm, which is very common nowadays in colder countries. And apart from that, we have your energy efficient operations, adapting circular economy, EV and green transportation. These all are there. But another interesting factor I wanted to add here, that is using the ocean energy. Many of the islands in Caribbean as well as in Pacific islands today are independent of fossil energy. So this is all can happen, thank God, to technologies which we have, but still challenges are there, like investment. Large scale projects require significant financial resources, which is a kind of gap at this moment. And when we have to adapt them, the technology advancement, new technologies, and building the workforce, educating them, skilling them as per the sustainable future. So this is a important factor as well. And just wanted to get another aspect, that is the consumer. These days, consumers are also playing a very crucial role, and they are very much driving and demanding the sustainable solutions. If you see the record, or data says like 75% of European Union consumers, they are looking for sustainable solutions. Like just to give you one aspect of it, in any media advertisement these days, you can see the term Dursam. Dursam means sustainable. So if you don't comply, consumers won't go for it. And now to bring some data, as we all know, so we are not only doing the, it's okay, we did some irresponsibility, we took it. Now we took care of the responsible way. And the three pillars, environment, economy, and social, in all three ways, we are improving as well. So the renewable energy now in 2024 has been expected rise up to 39% compared to 29.6, which was there around in 2019 or 20. Carbon emission from the fossil energy has also reduced by 2.5% compared to last year, and deforestation has also reduced by 15%. Economically, people are coming, investors are coming and investing on renewable energy, which was much higher than 2023. Now it is almost around 20% higher. 1.3 trillion has been invested so far in the renewable and energy efficient operations. And from the social aspect, 39.1 million new employment also has been created during this green initiative. So we came a long way, but milestones are there. We have to continue our journey together towards it. So at the end, let's be doers and go ahead with it. That's what is my 50 cents, Sunil.
Thank you so much, Sima. Thank you so much. Let me get Amit to share his views on this. Amit, thank you for joining us. Your views on this whole topic, Amit.
Thank you. Thank you, Sunil, and thank you to and hello to my esteemed panelist. Uh, I think the two very interesting perspective came out from Arun and Seema. My view on this, Sunil, is slightly, I mean, while it is short but very critical, more on the implementation side. See, we can go ad nauseum discussing, debating, and everybody will come to the same conclusion. Yes, it is important, and we will all, I'm sure, have our own sense how world is getting warmer, how water is getting more precious. Uh, but where I feel it should not become another plastic story, and the plastic story is like 30, 40 years back. We said we should move away from paper, use plastic because you'll be recycling that more often, and we encourage people to use that. But in last decade we said no, no, let's abandon that and move back to paper. So while the thought was not bad, that don't cut trees, don't make paper, but nobody calculated the ROI that one plastic should be utilized how many times. So that entire ROI component was missing. So it became a fad and a cocktail conversation that yes, we should all move away from cut chopping trees. So that really makes you think that is it another cholesterol story and sugar story which is created and suddenly it fizzles away with something new which comes up. It should not happen like that because this is really life critical, life threatening. We all appreciate that. The second example is currently we are going through one of the fad, and I see I feel that pain because we are dealing with a lot of OEMs, two-wheelers, three-wheelers who are jumping into the EV bandwagon. You ask them how are they going to manage the disposable of the batteries after 5 years, 2 years, 10 years. Nobody has an answer. And we will realize after 10 years that EV was a bad story because we have created more poison on the planet than actually creating more greenery. So that's why I said slightly short, but a bit critical on the implementation side. And that's where I like this entire scheme. And we do work with a lot of government departments. We are working with Har Ghar Mein Jal scheme. We are working on the solar scheme, which the Honorable Prime Minister has launched at 1 crore implementation. As long as governments are talking, as long as corporates are talking, we will make great policies, great framework, no doubt about it, because we have great people designing all that. But as long as an individual like you and me or a farmer toiling on the field is not impacted, and the impact is only in two ways: either I save money or I make money. And that's the beauty about the solar scheme of the country, that you do earn money if you are actually having a solar generation plant and you do a hybrid inverter. So my view is as much attention and discussion should be spent on incentivizing, implementing, and marching towards the journey of sustainability, as much as trying to spread the awareness and the scaremongering, because I think the stage is gone. Even our kids today know more than us about this. To be honest, in the school they are taught. So we were never taught all these things. I know. So they are the first ones to pounce on us when they see wasting of water and utilization of plastic. I think that stage is gone. Now we have to move to the implementation and serious implementation. See, that's my two bit on this, Sunil, because some great points have been discussed by my other panelists out here. Thank you. Back to you, Sunil.
Thank you, Amit. And the point that you mentioned about implementation very critical. And specifically, if you just look at India, I think it's a good first step that a few years back that SEBI has now made it mandatory for the top 1,000 companies in terms of market cap and the Sensex to submit ESG disclosures, right, as part of BRSR reporting. I think that's a good step. Hopefully, we'll get the other companies also to start disclosing their ESG goals. And of course, the key part, again, Amit, going back to your point about implementation, I think that's going to be critical because ESG should not just be treated as a tick in the box. I think you should have that whole ESG culture kind of permeate from the whole organization, and it has to be driven from the top if you really want to see organizations making some serious efforts in terms of managing their environment. But thank you for your opening comments on it. Let me now move back to Arun. And Arun, I just wanted to ask you, guided by science-based targets, I understand that AT&T has initiated action to address climate change in ways that are relevant to your business and to prepare for its impact on your operations, your customers, and communities, and have set a goal to be carbon neutral by 2035 and across your global operations. So, for the benefit of all of us, if you can share with us some of the initiatives that are underway as you're trying to meet these goals, and specifically since you earlier mentioned about the tech innovation, the use of tech, how are these technologies being leveraged around as it relates to sustainability?
Great question again, Sunil, and what a great discussion it has been so far. So when we look at sustainability, we are looking at sustainability in three buckets. So the first bucket is all about reducing our own emissions. So you mentioned we have this aim of becoming carbon neutral by 2035. So we are investing in projects to reduce our own carbon emissions in our own operations. The second bucket is where we multiply the impact by offering innovative solutions which will help our business customers reduce their carbon emissions and achieve their carbon reduction goals. In the third bucket, we prepare for change. So we basically build resilience to protect our businesses and also our communities against the impacts of climate change. So on to the first bucket, which is what your question referred to. One of the key initiatives for us, not surprisingly, is this whole transition to renewable energy sources. So we are investing big time in solar and wind energy projects, increasing our renewable energy capacity to power our operations sustainably. In addition to renewable energy adoption, we are focusing on optimizing energy efficiency across our network infrastructure and facilities. Now, this includes deploying energy efficient equipment and implementing innovative cooling technologies, for example, in our data centers. And by reducing energy consumption, we not only lower our carbon footprint, but also drive cost savings and operational efficiencies. Now, recognizing that a large part of our emissions actually comes from our services trucks, the fleet of trucks that go out for delivery, maintenance, etc. Our fleet team is constantly optimizing the routes using IoT-based fleet tracking and management solutions, also switching to hybrid and electric vehicles and reducing the overall size of the fleet itself. Then we are using very intensely the IoT-enabled building energy management systems in our facilities. So as a sort of point of statistic, on an average, 30% of all energy consumed in any typical commercial building is actually wasted. So this is a great area, I would say a great low-hanging fruit where efficiencies can be brought in very, very quickly. And our IoT-enabled solutions, they collect a range of info from IoT sensors and building management systems, which enables continuous monitoring and management of all the building systems to drive maximum energy efficiency. And the statistics are astounding. We have sort of calculated that this is leading to about 9 million kilowatt hour of annual energy reduction and more than 5,000 metric tons of CO2 savings. So that's very, very significant in that sense. Now, AI again is playing a crucial role in optimizing our network operations and resource allocations. So, basically through AI-powered analytics, we are able to analyze vast amounts of data to identify opportunities for energy savings and emission reductions. So, for instance, AI algorithms optimize our network routing to minimize energy consumption and carbon emissions while ensuring optimal performance and reliability. Further, I would say AI is really getting deeply embedded. It is utilized in predictive maintenance applications, for example, to proactively identify and address equipment failures before they occur. And this reduces downtime and minimizes resource wastage. By leveraging AI and IoT technologies, we're able to make basically data-driven decisions that drive sustainability across our operations. You mentioned water as a very scarce resource. Water management is a huge topic for us. It is a critical input for our operations. With 53% of our US water consumption occurring at locations where water helps maintain the controlled and cooled environment which is necessary for our communications network. So this is a huge resource to be sort of monitored and managed. So we have created water scorecards, which keeps a check on type of water being used, how much of it is recycled, also tracks enhancements being made to cooling systems and the impact that is having on water consumption. And we have deployed smart irrigation and rainwater collection systems across all our units without fail. I mentioned renewable energy. Just a quick point on that. We are one of the largest corporate buyers of renewable energy in the US. And we believe that going big on renewable energy also benefits local communities, creating hundreds of jobs in the fast growing clean energy market as such. Sunil, those were some of my points on the question that you had. Back to you. I think you're on mute, Sunil.
Sorry. No, I think it's great points because I think some of the initiatives that you talked about really heartening to hear that. One is you talked about the transition to renewable and then how we are optimizing energy across network infra and also in your data centers and the fleet of trucks that you're using, how you're using your use of IoT to optimize route, making sure they take the shortest possible route and the building management system which you talked about, very valid point that 30% of all energy is wasted and also in buildings HVAC, the optimizing HVAC becomes critical, and I think I'm sure you're using that IoT for optimizing your HVAC. And also you talked about water and the smart irrigation initiatives that are underway. I think great around something for the US telecom operators, the others, your competitors to emulate. But thank you so much for sharing that. Let me get Sima back. And Sima, you're based in Netherlands. You have a very good understanding of the whole telecom landscape in Europe. So how are the European wireless carriers, including the communication service providers, how are they approaching sustainability, including specific practices that they are adopting? And how are they leveraging AI specifically to optimize the energy consumption, to lower their carbon emissions, and thereby reduce their environmental footprint across their operations? So your views, please. You're on mute. Yeah.
Hear me well?
Yeah, we can hear you. Please.
Thank you, Sunil. I got an opportunity, or I was blessed to work from both the sides of telecom industries in Europe. So when I meant both the sides as a vendor, I'm still a vendor for telecom industries at this moment, and also as a consultant or as a core member of the team. So that way I could bring some of the values or the informations which could be maybe useful for what are the practices are going on. We all know that telecom industry, you already mentioned already, Sunil, that telecom industry is including the ICT plays a significant role in global warming and e-waste. Europe is also not though they are leading the sustainability initiatives, but still they are also a contributor. So some of the facts globally, if we talk about, as even you mentioned, Sunil, that ICT is contributing around, including ICT and telecom, they are contributing around 2.4%, between 2 and 4% of global greenhouse gas emission, and 53% of the e-waste. And out of that, 20% of the e-waste is recycled properly, but other 80% is not getting recycled at this moment. And this is, we are expecting, if this goes this way, it is going to be doubled by 2030. So where Europe brings their footprint, they're also as a global emission contributor, It's a very small footprint of around, at this moment, around 0.25 to 1%. But the major player here is the ECNs, the electronic communication networks, and that contributes 50% of the overall European emissions. Okay, and the second contributor, that is the E-West, okay, which is alarming. Out 1/3 of global E-West, the mobile phones, that is around that number is around 5.3 billion per year according to 2023, is getting E-West. Okay, and as we know that total 80% of the E-West globally comes from the telecom. So EU acknowledges these challenges, and also they are taking steps towards sustainability and net zero as within 2030 and between 2030 and 2050 kind of scenarios. That's the overall aspects. And then Europe Telecom is going through a twin transition. Basically, it's not only environmental but also digital transformation. They are going for both together. European, I just read a report couple of days before, that is published by 2024 by the European Union associated with ITNO and Uni Global Europa. And there they're talking about the accelerating sustainability in telecom. And in that, they're talking about around 11 emerging technologies which can reshape the telecom sector, focusing towards sustainability as well as towards the digital goal. So some of them are like 5G, 6G, XRAN, then fiber optic and GPON technologies. Then we talk about big data analytics, cloud computing, edge computing, as mentioned by Arun already, IoT, AI, quantum and blockchain technologies, and extended reality. So here, I wanted to bring these technologies are not only gonna help us for scope 1 or 2, as well as we are here talking about scope 3 emissions. Okay, and I'll come to that in couple of minutes. But there is a challenge, as it's not a flowery, rosy path, and there is a gap of around 174 billion investment because of to deploy the new technology, energy efficient technologies. They all take thing. But good news is there is some good news as well. Telecom operators are significantly reducing their environmental footprint. Like one of the example, Arup is already here. Vodafone, they are almost 100% in renewable electricity at this moment. Okay, so in Europe, and also implementing energy efficient solution, lifespan of the devices. They are working towards it. Where basically telecom is using artificial and machine learning kind of transformation, basically on the predicting problems before they happen, or automation of network management, smarter resource allocations, self-optimization networks, data-driven network planning. So these are the few areas where they are trying to use AI and ML. And as I mentioned, energy efficiency, of course, in mobile technology like using 5G or fiber optics, that helps in emission scope 1. And then renewable energy with 80% of what is already contributed by telecom sector. They are already working on it, and that is coming for the scope 2. And value chain optimization, which comes to the scope 3 elimination of emissions. Okay, BT has helped in independent businesses for measuring and reducing carbon footprint. And there are many other programs.
Sima, because I'm conscious of time, we have one more round to go, but if you can just wrap up in 30 seconds, that would be great.
Okay, I'll do that. So apart from that, we also come to the fiber as well as the cable operator side, where they talk about they are inventing various technologies. I wanted to just get that, like virtual cable modem, like VC cap or remote PHY, DAA. These are the kind of optimizations they are going for. Smart homes, that is one of them. And also the moral of the story is keep it simple. Okay, don't configure what you don't use. So with this, I wanted to leave here. Sorry, Sunil, I took a bit more time.
No problem at all. Thanks. Thank you, Sima. So let me get Amit back. So Amit, specifically, just talking about Vodafone Global, and maybe you can even cover India, Amit, in terms of what is that you are doing to reduce your environmental impact, and you all also have a specific target to get to carbon neutral, if I'm not mistaken, in this 2040. But how are you leveraging the power of technology, especially IoT, AI, machine learning, as it relates to your sustainability initiatives?
Thanks, Sunil. I hope I'm audible because I'm sitting in
Yes,
an
yes.
outdoor noisy place. I'm sorry about that.
Yeah, we can
See
hear.
that my job becomes very easy because Seema and Arun really pointed out the best practices which telcos are doing, and we have been following that globally. And rightly said, Seema, we have 100% renewable in Europe. So I would like to add a flavor of India, where the constraints were more, where we practically were struggling for proper infrastructure, energy infrastructure, a few years back, till few years back, at least a decade back, I would say. So primarily, if you look at historically, Indian towers were powered by DG gensets, diesel, which is not the case so rampant outside India. So our first mission in India was how to reduce or eliminate the use of diesel as a source of energy. And I think that's where we have achieved great success. And obviously, it goes without saying that the things which became alternative was solar and wind for us. Wind has just started in last 2 3 years, I would say. We are still dabbling with it. Very micro wind energy equipments are installed to check, and it is only selective places and the coastal areas or the western Ghat areas where there is a enough wind power. But it is not something which works across the country. Solar is something which works across the country. So that those that is an initiative which we do, diesel elimination. Second is I will not repeat, but the low consuming hardware. These are all global practices because we have global vendors and they all come up with these kind of solutions. But another unique thing in India is we do site sharing abundantly across the country, so that reduces both the cost and the damage to the environment. So 95% of the entire country's infra is shared today. Then, same thing, energy monitoring of the BTS performance. Optimization is something we are right now for last 1 year doing a lot of use cases where it is not an optimization only in the supply and demand side, but we have gone, especially from the IoT side, I'm saying, we have gone into optimization of the configuration of the solution, where we end up doing an IoT edge cloud all put together, where it is going to suck up less data, transmit less data, which means less heat dissipation, all that stuff. So that has just started right now in last 1 year. I would say we have not really got a, we have not cracked it as such in a way, but because the customers are doing a POC, but that definitely helps us, go in that direction. Another factor which we are actively doing, and especially with connected car, is the software SIM, eSIM, which we call. And we are promoting eSIM in most of the use cases today, whether it is a point of sale where the deployment is more than 2 crore in the country, or rather 20 million. There we are trying to promote that. In auto connected cars, we are doing that. In the AMI, smart metering utility spaces, we are doing that. So that reduces or eliminates the physical SIM card. And plastic SIM also is something which we are doing recycled SIM now. So eSIM and plastic recycled SIMs is another. I will just add another layer which we are doing in the Indian context. And of course, the other stuff is like the internal infrastructure management and fleet management. All that stuff is given now. Those are more run of the mill, well established. We are running those solutions, but it's a journey which we are doing. I think not far away, but definitely we should be. We are gearing up for the net zero carbon footprint 2028. To be honest, we will not be zero there, but at least we are enabling our customers and ourselves in that direction. Okay, I just gave a hint for the further questions if you have any, Sunil. Thank you very much. Back to you.
Yeah, thank you, Amit. I'll come back to customers later. I know you're also building solutions for your customers which will make them a lot more sustainable. So I'll come back to you for the last question. Let me move to the last round here and again get Arun back into the discussion. So Arun, I went through your AT&T Sustainability Report 2022, and what caught my attention was AT&T's objective to deliver connectivity solutions that enable business customers to reduce a gigaton, which is 1 billion metric tons of GHG emissions between 2018 and 2035. That's quite a lot. And in pursuit of that gigaton goal, you also recognize the need to work with other leaders, because we have to have an ecosystem. You need to work with other partners to combine complementary strengths in high emitting industries. Now, to spur this collaboration, you all have established this Connected Climate Initiative in 2022. So, can you highlight to us a little bit about this CCI, the Connected Climate Initiative, and how are you trying to fuse sustainability into your products and services that you're taking to your customers?
Sure, great question again, Sunil, and obviously you've done your homework. So first about the AT&T Connected Climate Initiative. So actually in 2021, this was formed with participation from leading technology companies, AT&T business customers, universities, and non-profit organizations, all of us coming together. No one can do it alone. It has to be an ecosystem of trusted partners who does it. And the mandate really was to develop new products and identify best practices and use cases to ensure scalability of innovations of partners building 5G and other broadband enabled climate control solutions. So big organizations, reputed organizations like Microsoft, Equinix, the academia in the shape of Texas A&M, Purdue, and Missouri, they all came together as part of the Connected Climate Initiative. And there are three or four focus areas here. One is, of course, collaboration to enable new product offerings. Second is research and sort of attracting investments in 5G and other technology research to enable emission reduction specifically. Then coming up with solutions, basically deliver connectivity driven solutions for our customers worldwide to help reduce emissions. And finally, sort of an equitable distribution, basically fueling innovation and disruptive technologies that use connectivity to fundamentally change how work gets done. So that leads me to the gigaton goal. And we committed to what we call the gigaton goal, which is basically aimed at delivering innovative solutions that enable our customers to collectively reduce a gigaton of greenhouse gas emissions going from the year 2018 up to 2035. So during that 17-year period. And we are tracking very well on those goals, by the way. And basically what we're doing is we're helping customers improve their environmental footprint by driving adoption of AT&T broadband enabled technologies, and that can reduce greenhouse gas emissions such as online collaboration tools and IoT solutions for fleet, asset, and building energy management. So those are the thrust areas. Now, just to give you some more examples and the sort of wide range of themes that this is running into. So for example, we are deploying 5G and IoT based solutions to help our customers achieve their own sustainability goals. For example, in the industrial or manufacturing setup. So imagine a typical industrial setup. Even small problems can lead to a lot of waste and emissions. So for example, inefficient compressors waste energy, boilers producing too much air waste energy, voltage imbalances in motors waste energy. And this is where we are bringing the power of 5G combined with MEC, which is the multi-access edge compute, to help reduce manufacturing waste. Now, as you would know, the MEC or the multi-access edge compute is an on-premise solution that brings the power of 5G networks to deliver newfound levels of intelligence, control, reliability, security, and speed to the manufacturing operations. And really, this combination of 5G and MEC can help identify and address efficiencies early and reduce emissions. So, for example, it leads to optimal equipment performance within the manufacturing unit. Using predictive analytics, you can detect quality issues that could cause waste. You can use video analytics to monitor equipment and identify energy wasting issues. Sorry, a lot of use of AI, AR, and ML to find leaks and ensure equipment is running optimally, and near real-time device management to turn devices on and off to avoid wasted energy. So these are some of the typical examples from a manufacturing sector. One more interesting use case that I would like to cite is the use of IoT in precision farming. Precision farming, especially when it comes to rice cultivation, to reduce water consumption and reduce greenhouse gas emissions. So rice cultivation is extremely resource and emissions intensive. The paddy fields have to be flooded with water up to 4 inches of depth on a constant basis, and about 40% of total water used for irrigation globally is used just to cultivate rice, just one crop. So that's how intense it is. Now, more importantly, when vast tracts of paddy fields are flooded with water, it creates an anaerobic environment, an environment which is devoid of oxygen, and more importantly, something which generates a lot of methane gas. And methane, as we know, is about 28 to 30 times more potent than carbon dioxide. However, by using IoT enabled precision farming, farmers can grow rice with less resources and reduce the environmental impact of water wastage. But most importantly, the greenhouse gas emissions are reduced. And this is done by a technique called alternate wetting and drying, under which you don't have to maintain a constant 4-inch flood, but the field is allowed to dry down between floods after the initial watering as long as the right level of moisture or wetness is maintained. And this is done by planting IoT sensors in the field that take regular measurements. They send it to a system of connected pumps to regulate the flow of water and also control the operation of pumps. So the pumps come on only when, as and when required, and they pump in only that much water which is required to maintain that threshold of wetness. So this has a lot of impact. Of course, the fertilizer runaway is prevented, the greenhouse gas emissions are reduced, water consumption is reduced, electricity consumption is reduced because the pumps operate only as and when required. So, multi-dimensional effect of a single solution. The last, sort of very quickly, I know we're running out of time, an interesting use case that I would cite is in this whole area of converting waste to energy. So specifically food waste to energy. So we got involved in a project where the end client was running an operation where they had an industrial food grinder which would convert large amounts of food waste into rich nutrient based slurry. So basically food waste coming from commercial kitchens, restaurants, stadiums, anywhere where there's a large scale of food consumption and therefore wastage. The grinder converts the food waste into a rich nutrient based slurry, which is then acted upon by anaerobic digesters to convert into biogas, basically methane, which in turn can be used to generate electricity or heat or even make fertilizer. Instead of the food finding its way into landfills as waste and generating greenhouse gas emissions, it is put to this use. So here they turn to us for our IoT connectivity and robust reporting solutions to increase the scalability and market competitiveness of the system itself. So we basically use our expertise and technology, including our cellular network and IoT platforms, to develop a system that makes it possible for the client to collect, organize, and analyze the data that helps them have complete monitoring and management on an end-to-end basis of the entire process. And basically what it means is about 7,400 tons of food waste annually is not dumped into landfills. Instead, 1.3 million kilowatt or clean electricity is generated. That is equivalent to powering about 125 homes for a full year. 420 tons of fertilizer is made from this, and around 5,000 metric tons of CO2 emissions are avoided. So again, multi-dimensional results of a single smart solution. So, Sunil, some of those are some of my
Yeah.
thoughts.
I think these are wonderful examples, Arun. Actually, this whole issue about optimizing water or paddy cultivation, I think that's something that is going to definitely help India as well, because paddy is one of our important crops and we use a lot of water. So, of course, the question would be, how do you get a really low cost solution that will address this big challenge in India? So, something for the Indian operators and the IoT ecosystem in India to think about, how do you really get that cost down to make sure farmers can afford this. But thank you so much, Arun, for sharing those examples, including the one which converts, food waste into a form of biofuel. I know Amit has got to leave shortly, and I'll come to Amit first before I get to Sima. So, Amit, again, very similar to what I have asked Arun, in terms of specifically what you all are doing for your customers, in terms of how are you trying to provide solutions to your customers, which will help them in their sustainability goals, Amit.
Thank you for accommodating me, Sunil, on that. I've just got to take a flight, so I'll just finish it. So, Sunil, see, uh, in our journey in India, in the adoption of IoT, what we have observed is people normally start off with a conversation that uh, the ROI conversation, typical one, right? Why will I adopt IoT, etc. So our conversation used to veer around, efficiency. Efficiency, you will save cost, you will save time, and all those solutions which practically today has become more like par for course. So we then have veered that conversation towards, when you are investing in it, think about the future, and why don't you add efficiency plus sustainability? And that's where what we do is we also have a very strong partner ecosystem. So there are partners who are specialists, because we are not the specialists in assessing the carbon footprint in the value chain of a solution. While our solution is typically into three buckets, which is smart mobility, smart infra, and smart utility. And just I'll take a minute on smart mobility. Means anything which is a dynamic solution. So fleet management, logistics, etc., etc., all that comes there. So, but when we approach a customer and say we can do your fleet management and it will be far more efficient, you will save cost. But this is where the experts are injected into the conversation, who are doing an assessment of the carbon footprint. And this normally we have seen is happening with the mid-size and large-size customers. It is not really percolating to the smaller customers, while the government will make it mandate for even the mid-size and lower than that. But they come in and assess that in the value chain where the carbon footprint is really damaging. That's number one. Number two is we give them an awareness how in future it's an opportunity for them to make money when they can start trading the carbon footprints. So that is one element which we have added. It does not happen in every conversation, to be very honest, but we do know that, and this we have experimented in our own sister concern companies in Birla Group in India, because they are our 50% partner, you know that. So that's where we see that, okay, the sweet spot is the large organizations which want to go into it. So in the conversations, we are trying to inject the sustainability component, while the customers are themselves aware, but nobody knows how to do it. But the starting journey is efficiency, to be very honest. They want to see what is more than in here and now. And under smart mobility, there's a plethora of services. The most recent is the award winning, the Asian Telecom Award, which we got for the Sanchar Shakti, which we unveiled in the India Mobile Congress last year, October. That's got 26 use cases, from port to the doorstep. And it's a multi-modal logistic solution. It covers so many aspects of the transportation, and customers can choose. It's very modular in terms of pricing and purchasing. So that's the one which we talk about the most. In smart infra, I think we still have some way to go, because the regular ones like HVAC monitoring, DG genset health monitoring, predictive analytics, these things are used in a bit, in a progressive environment, or where the customers are. But there are a lot of legacy infrastructure problems. So till the time, I think that will take off for us more, and sustainability will get a uh, boost once the 5G and LT, private LT, starts penetrating. That's where the entire industrial 4.0 will help a lot. And the third one, which is a massive one, where the first mission is a 25 crore energy meters automation. That's where we have done our bit, and we have deployed more than a crore on the ground right now. Government will deploy 25 crores. So the entire automation of the meter reads, it's a massive exercise. The next one is 6 crore meter gas meters coming up. So there again, IoT adoption is going to play a big role. And these things save a lot of operational costs. So here I would like to uh, bring in a solution which we have introduced. It is triaging the operational problem. Today, if you have a problem on ground for a meter, and if it is not latching to the network, and there are different players, right? So there is a system integrator, like for instance, an L&T will be the integrator. We will come as a communication partner. There is an HGS partner. There's a device guy. So everybody will point the finger at each other. But today we have three platforms. One is the SIM lifecycle management, which gives us enough data from the SIM behavior. The second is the CNMS, that is a central network monitoring solution, which gives the network parameters. And then we have coupled that with a DMS, a device management system. Today in India, the cost of a field guy going and checking a meter, plugging out the SIM card and putting it, is at least $3, $3 per visit. But that straight away comes down to only 2 rupees. We charge only 2 rupees for them to remotely see whether the device is capturing or. So these are the things which we are doing from our bit to enhance operational efficiency, which reduces cost. That's all from my side, Sunil. Thank you so much. I'm giving it back to you.
Yeah, thank you, Amit. I think great initiatives and the smart metering application that we talked about, the smart meters, the gas meters. It will be interesting to see how it evolves over the next couple of years because um I think this is a big initiative which ESL started, I think, a few years back, right, to replace 250 conventional meters, 250 million conventional meters with smart meters. So I think there's a huge opportunity for you all also as this really scales. But thanks once again, Amit, for sharing. And let me get Sima back. So Sima, let me ask you, QDX Ray, you have your telecom customers spread across Europe and other parts of the world. So can you very briefly share what is that you're trying to do for your telecom customers, especially from a sustainability perspective? What are the solutions that you're trying to take to address their challenges as it relates to sustainability, Sima?
Thank you, Sunil. And it was great insight, Arun and Amit, as usual. It's great to learn from both of you. So we are also like as a QDX, we are also trying to contribute in the sustainability solution. So majorly in 2024, I'm sure Amit and Arun will, and as well as Sunil, all are from telecom sector. Predictive analysis, preventive maintenance, automation and network management, smarter resource allocation, self-optimization, data-driven network planning. These are the very crucial point to manage any operations at this moment, whether it comes to mobile as well as for the CSPs. So we are basically into that domain, and there exactly we are trying to play a role. In a quick sentence, we can tell QDX-Ray offers comprehensive service assurance solution based on network telemetry alongside the inventory provisioning and topology data. And we basically used AI to supply the actionable items through UI, that is user interface, report, and APIs to provide the predictive as well as proactive maintenance on the fixed and mobile networks. And we don't limit ourselves into the active. We also work towards the passive component. So we get you the drill and we get into the passive components as well. So, and then we have two solutions. One is on the on-premises, another one comes under the cloud, mainly for the smaller operators who cannot afford to get into the energy consumption of a huge server infrastructure. So I would like to get some of the use cases here, like how we get passive infra for the cable deployment. So one of the use cases we can talk about here is cable plants which can contain many optical and electrical conversations, then amplifiers, stacks, and other equipment. By connecting active telemetry from the consumer CPEs and central equipment to passive plant design data, we always try to get the details from there. Okay, and this is one of the use case where we work on. The second one comes where we use, we work on the FTTH network. Okay, the we all know the feeder is a fiber cable, mostly around 96 to 192 kind of individual fibers connecting central equipment OLT to complex passive plants, and which can contain ODFs, splitters, handholds, outside fiber cabinets, etc. So it's just a recent story I wanted to share here. One of our customer site, one day suddenly around 30,000 customers dropped offline. It took the outside plant team for 4 hours by scraping customer details, fiber design, system, and network management data, and all those kind of things to get together and understand. It took almost around 4 hours time. So there, what QDX did, we address the same customer, same issue on the same spot within 5 minutes, maximally within 150 meters from the target location. We could get the fault location. We can put pinpoint where exactly is the fault using our AI-driven algorithm and massive set of data and visualized on QDX-Ray. And so, and as Amit mentioned that the field guys, they want around $3 when it comes to the expense in India, whereas here that comes around 65 as a truck roll cost, okay, and 65 euro as a truck roll cost to fix any problem. So there we are working not only on the from the preventive maintenance or on the operational side, we also reduce the carbon emission or other cost on that areas. So this is how we bring QDX Ray into the sustainability group, as well as we help customers to lower their capex and OPEX by around 30 to 45%. So they're exactly where we bring value.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Suma. I think we completely run out of time. I wish we could continue the discussion for a longer time, but then I know Amit has got a flight to catch, and we are also past the hour. But a great discussion. Thank you so much, Sima, Amit, and Arun for sharing your perspectives. I think great learnings for all those who would listen in terms of how, Amit, specifically you and Arun, in terms of what your organizations are doing to ensure that you are sustainable in terms of your operations and also what you're doing for your customers. I think great learnings for everyone, some of which can be emulated by other operators. But I think, as Amit, you mentioned, it's a journey. I think all of us agree it's a journey. This has to continue. And if you want to make sure that coming generations inherit an earth which has enough of resources, I think it is a collective responsibility. It is just not the onus on the organizations, governments, but each of us collectively, each of us also should do our part to make sure that we are making the world a better place for our future generations. So on that note, I would like to end. Thank you once again, and I hand it back to Meena. Meena, back to you.
Thank you so much again for giving me your time today. I look forward to having many more events with you, such as these. Have a good day and a good
Thank you.
weekend.